Welcome back to another Wednesday on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Wednesday host, Dieka, and this week we are talking about divination. So, a storm is coming in, and it's definitely autumn here. The calendar switched over, and boom, autumn started. So, I'm going to try and get this in before the rain comes and before it gets much windier than it is. So this topic was a little bit tricky for me at first, thinking about it, because I don't tend to think of myself as somebody who practices divination. But I really wanted to give it some thought and started thinking about, well, what do I think divination is? And is there anything that I do that would qualify as that? So I think that divination is seeking information or understanding from some system, some ritual or process. And that could be anything from, tarot to scrying, runes, things like that. And given that definition, there was a practice that I came up with that is actually really important to me that I'll share with you at the end. But before I get into that, I want to say what my kind of belief about things like tarot or divination is, or my belief is, yeah. And that is that there aren't necessarily innate meanings to these symbols, and that there isn't necessarily a supernatural hand or divine hand or something like that stepping in and adjusting what the cards, what order the cards will come out in, or that what how the stones will fall or something like that, right? That the meaning that is there is something that we find and give to it. That the person who is reading it, we're tapping into some other intuitive understanding that we already have, and using some sort of form, using some sort of ritual is a way that allows us to access and express what we already have access to. So that's my kind of take on what divination, what all of these really come down to. So within that context, I was thinking about what is there in my practice? Because, I've never really connected with things like tarot or scrying or things like that. But there is a practice that I have done for a very long time. Um, Actually, about a little over 20 years. So when I guess I was 9, my brother was 10, our mother was dying. And so our parents really wanted to give us a lot of tools. We had always done things like worked with visualization and kind of basic, I guess what you'd call energy work. But because there was this really big process, huge life change, intense thing going on in our family, our parents really wanted to give us some tools to help us with what was going on. Um, and one of the tools was journeying. Another one we did found a meditation teacher and some other things like that. But the journeying was the one, and I still do a lot of meditation, but the journeying really, really stuck with me. Um, and you'll also see this kind of thing referred to as path working. But basically, I see it as traveling um, inside. And I very much always go to what's called the underworld. I don't really have any connection with the overworld or above world or whatever. But to an internal landscape in which I experience and feel myself traveling through this landscape and encountering um, the different animals or beings. And it is a way for me to answer questions. When I have a really big question in my life, when I'm going through large transitions, that is a tool that I will use and has very much helped me throughout my life. And it's been something that waxes and wanes for when I need to use it, um, but I'm seeking understanding and answers around whatever huge life change or huge question is going on. And of course, there's certain stages in life where um, that's more applicable than others. But that has been I suppose, my favorite form of divination, and I think it continues to be so. Perhaps it qualifies as really the only form because, by the definition that I gave, my understanding before of what divination is, that does qualify, even though I don't think of myself as practicing divination because I think of that as being sort of like a more occult, metaphysical kind of thing, and I've definitely more on the, earth-based, experiential kind of side of paganism. Um, but yeah, that's what I've got this week. And as always, would love to hear what your take on the topic is. Is it something that you practice? Is it useful for you? Um, is there something you practice that would count as divination? That isn't maybe one of the sort of classical things that we think of? Let us know. And until next week, take care.